Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk. I'm Heidi Smith. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator based in the United Kingdom, and today I'm working with the fabulous potted geraniums and texture chic paper to make this cute little box here. Potted geraniums, beautiful new stamp set. It really, again, like so many, it doesn't do it justice until you actually see it stamped. Do get the dies that go with it. Not essential, but to be honest with you, I think it really brings this one to life. As you can see here, you've not only got these lovely two-step stamps to add some real beautiful detail, but you've also got dies that create fabulous flowers. And one of the absolute stars is this little label here. So I've used the die cuts on this one here, and I've used two tones. I've used Sweet Sorbet, and I think it was Real Red, looking at it, can't remember which. I think it was Real Red. Evening Evergreen and Soft Succulent with this beautiful paper with the gold foiling. This style of box has been around a while. Originally it was an origami style box, fold flat box, so it literally, you don't have to glue it. I have, because I've added an extra panel in here which you could add a layer of white to and write your message. And to give you an idea of size, it holds easily 4 packs of these little Lotus Biscoff. These are the chocolate ones. I have a couple of friends who are quite partial to them, and you know, you can see they easily fit in there. Just use a corner rounder. I've sized this deliberately so that it can be made with either UK A4 or US cardstock. So for those of you across the pond using letter size, you can make it without any adjustment as well. And it makes life easier for me because I've only got one lot of inches measurements to write out. I have started doing things where I write them out in US as well, where they're different. So that's the project. This is the Stampin' die set. As you can see, cuts out all the main images. You've got this lovely flower accent. I would recommend, if you're getting this, that you get some adhesive sheets as well. Makes life so much easier. And I'll pass on a couple of tips that I've picked up as well. And the texture chic paper, this is so useful. It goes with so many sweets. So here you go. On the one side you've got gold foiling, as you can see here. Look at the shine on that. And lovely soft colours. So we've got on the reverse some generic ones. So this would go with friends like seashells, with that lovely seashell image. Some wood grain on the back there, great for masculine cards, or swacatra foil there. Lovely floral images that would go with Abigail Rose, the Cottage Garden Suite with the Abigail Rose stamp set, or with Hues of Happiness. That makes a different one there. I say Evening Evergreen in there. Look at that, you've even got snowflakes and really different greens for snowflakes as well. Great for Christmas cards. We've got some Mango Melody in there, and look at those. That's the floral, almost like mulberry paper, where you've sort of, or handmade paper where you've got flowers in the paper itself. And this final one, you've got lovely leaves on the back here. Would be great for autumn projects. I can see this being really useful. But don't overlook it because it isn't part of a big sort of suite, but because it goes with so many. So Evening Evergreen, Mango Melody, Petal Pink, Pool Party, Soft Succulent and Soft Suede are the colours in there. So you're going to need a bit of cardstock as well, some self-adhesive sheets, so die cutting machine too. So we'll start off with the die cutting, so I can pass on this tip that I picked up. Now I can't remember which, it was an American demo, but what she suggested, which I haven't tried so far, is that rather than putting a solid piece, you put strips of the adhesive sheet on and then place your die across the middle so it's easier to get the strips off. We'll give it a go and see how it goes. So I thought I would use this lovely DSP here because I just think it is so pretty. Absolutely love it. And I'm going to use that gold foil because why wouldn't I? So I've done the same on some Evening Evergreen again, and I've also done the same on some Calypso Coral. I rather like Calypso Coral with these, so I tend to use the lighter colour for the background and the deeper colour for the front. And I'm going to need a piece of Soft Succulent as well. So the first bit is our die cutting. So what I want is, here's my large die. So I'm just going to pop that in there and just trim across. I'll pop a bit of post-it note tape on there as well. She says optimistically. You could obviously use a piece of post-it note if you've got it. So we then want our detail, our background and our detail die. So as I said, the detail die I'm going to use on there. And let's pop that. That might not actually have gone across. Oh, it has just gone across the join, but I don't think it's going to be very useful for us. But hey, there we go. Let's see how we get on. I've cut that a little bit on the skimpy side. Okay, and then the last one I'm going to need is that solid solid shape. So this is the one that kind of confused me. So this is just the leaves that are in this sort of solid shape. So they're really easy to glue because obviously they're really solid. Just a single shape. So that's what I'm going to be die cutting. I'm also going to die cut my lovely label. So I just want a scrap of basic white for that. You know me, I usually have some. I think I've got. This is actually a scrap of thick basic white, but that's going to do the job just as well. In fact, look at it, it might even be whisper white. So as you can see, on the large plate, those are all going to go through with a single pass. So you just pop your sandwich together and then pop those through. Obviously, if you've got a magnetic sheet, you won't need to worry about sticking those down, particularly if you've got the new cut and emboss one. With the old Big Shot, I do find they tend to jump quite a bit. Okay. Oh, there you go, classic. I'll need to recut that one. Okay, so we have got. I might just pop that through. You can see that hasn't quite cut through, so I'm going to pop that through at an angle, and the same with both of those. So having popped those through, those look as if they've cut through really well now. So I'm going to pop those back on the magnetic sheet as we go along. Now my first one didn't cut, but I'm not going to throw that away because I think if I cut that down the edge, that will make a nice label that I can use on another project. So I can just pop that back in. And again, you can have a look on the reverse and you can see where that's cut through. So we should have the detail in there. And yeah, the same on that outline one, background one. I can pop that away. And then I can pop my larger die as well. Okay. So now I think let's go ahead and make up these, put them together. Now I have deliberately gone all over this. That will help me adhere that down to the front here, even though that's lifted up on that second layer. So let's see if this tip that I picked up works in terms of the sheets. I mean, they said they did it because obviously it makes it a bit easier because you've got an edge to actually pick up on that sheet. In fact, I didn't want to do that one just yet. All of it. Okay, never mind. So yeah, that works reasonably well. Now, the way this lines up, you've got your smaller leaf on the left-hand side, so that just pops on there, and then that top one layers up. Now, I've also got a bit of sticky left there, so I'm just going to leave that face up to one side, get rid of some of my debris, and then let's see how we go with this one. So this is the more detailed one, so this one's a little bit I say, because it's more detailed, you might find when you lift it up that you actually take it off, which is probably what. So again, does it help having that layer? Personally, I think it makes it more fiddly for me because I'm trying to get lots of little pieces off. But that's just me. Now, when you've got this, what you will find is that you want to layer it up. So I find the easiest way is to find a point where you can see a flower that lines up with the edge. So I'm going to start in this top corner here. And let's have a look. And what I found was I kind of lined up the holes as much as anything, so you can see those kind of centres. So as I go around, I'm just lining up those sort of holes there. I don't know if you can see those. So these ones here, not so easy to see with my short and stubby nails. Went on holiday, came back with rubbish nails. So there we go. So there's our outline. So that's our petal pink with our Calypso coral on the top there. So that's ready to go. And there's my label. So that's ready to stamp. Lovely sentiment in this stamp set. I thought it was gorgeous. This birthdays are reminders that life should be separated, should be celebrated. Okay, so I'm going to use my soft succulent, I think, because soft succulent I always think is paler than it actually is. So there we go. Ink it up well. I'm not worrying too much about using my Stampin' Pierce mat for this one because it's not a solid stamp, and I think it's worked fine, but I would usually recommend that. So there we go, there's our next piece. So now what we want to do is we want to start cutting some layers. So because I'm going to use my petal pink cardstock, I'm going to have that to hand. And the first thing I want to do is trim that one down to size. I'm going to use the full width of my cardstock for this. So that's 21 centimetres, so 8¼ inches. So if you're working in the US, you'll want to just trim that down slightly. And then I'm cutting it to 27 centimetres, which is 10¾ inches. So that does give you a little scrap. So if you were doing this part first, you'd be able to do that and use it for your die cutting. I'm going to score on this short edge at 4 centimetres and at 17. So 1 5/8 and 6 5/8. Then I'm going to score the long at 7 centimetres, at 11 centimetres, at 18 and at 22. So that's 2 3/4, 4 3/8, 7 1/8 and 8 3/4. So that's my scoring done for the moment. I'm going to score some diagonals, but I'll do those with a ruler. We then want some layers of cardstock. So to go with this, I'm going to be using my Calypso coral. So you just want a piece of Calypso coral. You want a front piece that's 6.5 by 12.5. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut at 12.5 first, and I'm going to cut a piece at 6.5, and then I'm going to cut 2 side pieces at 3.5. Like so. So those are 2.5 by 4 3/4 and 1 3/8 by 4 3/4. I'm then going to cut my DSP. I know, cutting into DSP, it's shocking, isn't it? So again, I'm going to do a similar thing here. I'm going to cut at 12 centimetres. And then I'm going to cut at 6 centimetres. And I'm going to cut 2 pieces for the side at 3 centimetres. So I'm going to use my right hand side for those 3 so that the rest of my paper is supported at the top. As I'm by that I mean you're pushing it up so that it keeps it nice and straight and it butts up, and then I'm cutting from the bottom up. So again, that's always pushing into it, whereas if you cut from the top down, it can sometimes wriggle out the way a little bit. I will need another piece of cardstock for the inside, which I'm actually going to cut at 12 by 6. So I'm going to cut that at 6 and then trim it down to 12. And that's the piece that went on the inside of our box. And you don't have to have that. I just prefer it as it just kind of, when I'm gluing it anyway, it's going to just help make it a little bit more rigid. Okay. So now we're going to come on to the folding and burnishing. So reinforce those score lines we're box making. So reinforcing those, and as you go along, just make sure that those are lining up square as well. And by doing this at this stage, it's going to help you score the diagonals that we're going to do next. Okay. So again, if you think about how this box is going to work, this is the long section for the top, and we're going to keep these panels here, but we're going to trim away these bottom on the shorter one. And I'm going to come just inside that score line. And by that I mean, you know, if you take the score line, rather than cutting down the middle, you're just going to cut down the side. And that will just help it go into the gap a little bit better. And while I'm working on that, I'm just going to grab my corner rounder. And this is an old one, and just corner round those edges as well. Again, not essential. If you haven't got a corner rounder, you could actually cut them up diagonally. It just helps get it into that sort of slot. So having done that, we're now going to be scoring across these score lines. So you're going to score from this edge here up to here. So from the inside middle, you're going to score there. Let me move those out of the way so I don't score those. And you're going to score the opposite direction down here. So again, from the corner out, and then the same on the other side. So from inside to out, and the same. Now, as I said, you don't have to glue these. For this box, you know, it really sort of doesn't matter too much. And all I'm doing now is reinforcing those creases. If you're not going to glue them, you really do need to reinforce these well. And as you fold, just make sure that that is nice and flush on the top, because if it's not, it just stops it closing quite so well. So again, you might just want to reinforce those. Okay, so there's our box. So what we can do now is add our panel across the centre here. See that? So I'm just going to add some glue. So if you think about it, you're wanting that to be on sort of like the end 3 centimetres. You do not want it to overlap onto that inside, otherwise everything's going to get very messy. So just pop that in place there and just press it down. Reinforce with your bone folder, always a good idea, and allow it to dry. You could obviously use your Stampin' Seal Plus if you wanted to as well. This then folds up nicely like so, but before we do, we're going to add our layers onto it as well. So quite simple. And by the looks of it, my Tombow is starting to give up the ghost. I'm going to add my layer of card to the front. And my DSP. Doesn't it seem a shame to cover up that side. That side is really pretty actually. But although I'm not a kind of sparkly person, I do like a bit of gold foiling. And gold's generally not my stuff. I tend to go for silver rather than gold, but you know. So again, these side panels. Just stuck a bit of glue on there. I'm just going to put a bit of powder over that, just to avoid me sticking my project down. Yep, almost. So it's on the side panel, not on the main panel. And again, you know, if you're making just a quick box, you know, you might not want to add them to the side. You might just want to do that front panel. But obviously, you know, if it's one a little bit more substantial, you might be adding a gift card to it, or you know, making it a more expensive kind of packaging. As I say, I just kind of pop those biscuits in to give you an idea of size, rather than just giving you overall measurements. I think for me, it kind of works when I can sort of see what's going into something. Now we're ready to add our layers onto the front, and I just want to sort of position that, kind of have a look at where that's going to go. And just make sure I've got enough space to add my label at the top. So that's fine, it will work with at the bottom there. So all I'm going to do now, because I've already got adhesive on those stems, I'm just going to add plenty of adhesive onto the back of that large section. And I'm going to pop it just slightly to the right, because I'm going to add my flowers to that left edge. Like so. So we can just take that layer off there. Like so. And add my dimensionals. To the back. Put it at the right way, and actually that would have looked quite nice in Calypso Coral maybe, so you could have added a little bit more pink to it. But quite simply, all we do now is just simply slide that in, and I've kept it quite a nice large flap. It is I've perhaps made that a little snugger than I might have done by gluing that. Okay, so I'm struggling with that, so just to show you what I would do is I'm going to just take slightly more off those two edges. So you can see I'm just coming in, and so that's just to show it doesn't always work for all of us. What I've probably done is I've perhaps burnished that down a little bit firmly. So let's try it again. Oh look, yep, just taking that little bit off at each edge. It's still not going to get... Okay, so I'm going to be a bit more... And what I might want to do is do my corner rounder again. Okay, third time's the charm. There we go. And now obviously it's now going to be a little bit on the loose side. But there you have it. There's your fold flat box. If you glue the sides, you'll find they will stay. But just play around a little bit until you get that to slide in really nicely. And you will find that it will work. So there we go. There are our two, no glue, boxes, or only a little bit of glue, but using this beautiful new potted geraniums. I love the deep colour of the flowers here, but I love the paler colour of these. Which is your preference? Are you a soft succulent or are you a petal pink? I love these, just remind me of holiday. If you'd like to purchase a potted geraniums bundle, pop along to my shop or click on the description box below and you'll find the links. Really appreciate it if you'd shop with me, and do make sure you use the host code if your order's under 149, so I can send you a little extra along with your thank you next month. So thank you for watching, and ta-ta for now. Bye.